Welcome to Wide Nip Gaming, and it's part 2 of my State of Decay 2 walkthrough. Here I switched over to Jay, one of my first recruits, and during this stage you're doing a lot of traveling. You're going much farther away from your base, going to the bases that you've already gone to, picking up specific resources, and a lot of the things in between, like the Wandering Trader, survivors, random events. Here I'm fiddling between resources that I have and also, since I'm going to be trading, the high influence resources that I can use just for that currency. There's two types here though, buying and selling. Earlier on I would try to do both always, but it's usually buying or selling. In this case doesn't have anything I need, so I'm selling. Other cases though, you'll be buying. And then here's an example along the way, stopping by, getting some resources. The zombies start to ramp up though here a bit. You have the blood juggernauts, and the ones I don't like, the horde of riot gear zombies. With these, they're a pain because you can't just pop off a few, shoot them in the head, and they take more hits on top of that. So this is the rare case where it's worth running them over because it's far simpler and then you're able to escape. Going back to kind of the AI though, with the companion AI, they take forever to get in the car. It kind of triggers it when you honk, but it becomes an issue. Another spot along the way, you got to be careful, especially during night, which again I'm not. And here I figured after the first part I got lucky in the beginning, and here's more so where my luck runs out. I fire off a few shots and then more zombies come, and then more, and then throwing grenades, and then stamina. You kind of forget though, like I'm well prepared. I got my snacks in the bottom there, but my stamina's going way down. I'm not shooting, so I don't want to attract anymore, but I could have used my snacks here. One glitch that is happening though, the constant running into nothing glitch happens to me where I got stuck. And there goes my first one. There's Adriana, one of my other recruits. Fight and flight, you always got to be mindful of, because most of the time you gotta flee because it's not worth it. You're wasting more ammo than you need to. And then you get stuck in a situation that you just run out of ammo and then someone dies. Fortunately, in this case, things died down. I was able to hang around the same area and then get the equipment from Adriana, who fell, and then check out the house to see what they have. Yeah, this, it happens quite often. The game definitely favors playing more conservatively, usually not going into a situation, like getting a few resources, and don't bother about collecting every little thing, because you usually need like certain rucksacks, and then the equipment you have, it's more random. But with my luck, the guy was already dead anyway, and this happens, and this is an enjoyable part about it, because you never know. Like, the same situations do pop up, but you never know which one you're gonna run into. So it's more engaging, and the type of house and all that. Here I'm going to one of the communities that's farther away. Most of them are friendly when they're local because you've done the objectives, but there's those handful that are farther out that you may decide to do to make friendly for later if you move like your home base farther on. This is the wrenches. This one's the farthest from my home, but I'm getting to the stage of looking at going to another base, or kind of going farther out and thinking of resources at the same time doing those things. Back to trading here once again. A lot of trading you're doing. Buy or sell. I sell, get 75 influence. I like to cheat with the resources, search a lot, and do quick ones because I can aggro the zombies and not really worry about it because they knock them out. Since you're spending quite a bit more time traveling around with your workshop, you're kind of doing one thing at a time. You can take your time. I've already upgraded my infirmary, but my workshop I have. You look at kind of level 2 or 3, depending on what you want to do with these. Next, returning back to the wrenches, they needed the parts. This is the city objective that you have with one of the communities, and this is the same thing with the other towns. It's usually this kind of thing, or you go to the workshop. That's another one of the objectives. This is the new one, the Bounty Broker. This is a recent addition. I haven't checked it. This is the first time seeing this, but you have 3 slots, and these change after you complete certain objective. It can be like assaulting zombies, crafting, repair kits, that sort of thing. But it's just a guy in a van. He looks like Boss Hogg, sitting out there in the dark. But this, yeah, it's a good addition. It's kind of another one of those things to do. There's no pressure like with the infestations that you have to get so many done, or you're always bothered by these other communities. So this is more of an innocuous one, and then if you happen to be around, you can get the weapons. I'm doing this is my first find other survivors. Depends how you do this, because if you have your communities all set, you don't have to necessarily do this, but if you want like just a couple more to get another recruit, since I had one person die, I figured to do it. Hordes start to attack your base more often after like in the second stage of the game. Not too bad, because you don't have the more advanced zombies. You can leave them, and your community lets you know if, okay, could you come back, or there's a risk there. And then the quirks with the community members. Carol is one of my original ones, is easily bothered by morale. That's another thing. Here, switching over. Now you don't, this is Marcel, you don't have to do the objectives, the legacy ones necessarily. With this one, it's at least showing me where the plague heart is, but I'm deciding not to do it. And it depends, like this one happens to be really far away from my home base. I don't want to assault plague hearts because that makes the difficulty ramp up. Besides gun shops, you have the army stockpile. The roadblocks is another one to get some of the weapons, and here I'm getting a few here. You have this with the other resources too, like the hospital and the food and the materials that I have here with this group. Here's the group that I called on the radio asking for something. And there's always stuff that along the way, like I'm relying on my memory. I know there's an artillery outpost that you're seeing here. And I know by that there's a medical camp and they need a rucksack of medicine. This is my favorite outpost. This is the artillery strike. It doesn't give you any resources. So early on, and you're not going to encounter it early, but later on when you have enough influence, you're able to buy that one, and that one tends to be very helpful. This is the next one, the medical camp. This one I like because you have weapons sometimes, and along with like the medical stuff, mainly for the weapons. While you're searching around, you kind of want to decide: do I want to knock off an outpost or have one? Here I'm doing it because I have extra resources. I'm able to dump all of them in here. A lot of that goes on with the resource exchanging, going back and forth. So here I'm getting a community, and then since they're allied, they're farther away, and I'm low, I recruit this guy. You can decide not to. Sometimes I do that because there's a bonus that's relevant, like, well, other times, most of the time, really, it's not, so I don't bother. Back to my base here, I'm upgrading my command center. This gives me another outpost. You got to really take your time with these, because this can affect the morale a little bit, but more the threat level. You see in the bottom left there where you are attacked by zombies. Upgrading characters happens around this point. You've already upgraded your main characters, most likely to a degree, but then the other ones. The big addition, though, well, after taking out that plague heart, is the blood juggernaut. And you see more of them around, some at your base and some at other bases, and I stick with aggro to take out more of these. Oftentimes I take out one guy, though. this poor sucker here. But you're able to take him out, and then you're able to search more of the buildings. And this group is allied as well. So I'm looking at recruiting some more. Here's the next one here. This guy was farther away. It's kind of a reverse one that I want to not have him attack my base when I'm not there, so I aggro him over to my base. The Feral, this was kind of funny. A guy I mentioned earlier. I now have the same dialogue. You have those occurrences of stuff just matches up. Here's the first infestation that I'm going with. These ones you want to think about how to approach it. This one is objective related. Later on, I typically have a lot more that I plan to do one after another. Otherwise, I ignore them at this stage of the game because you don't have as many. They don't have a huge impact in morale, but this is for the wrenchers, again, the community that's out there. I want the repair shop going back to the abilities can be useful, and then I can have my repair kits, which you really need in this game, for fixing the car. So like in this occurrence, it's worth doing. But that pretty much wraps up part 2. Like, subscribe if you really liked the video, and I'll see you in part 3.